At my cousin's engagement, my parents mocked my imaginary fiancé. I just smiled until he walked in saying, "Sorry I'm late, had trouble parking the helicopter." They had no idea we just landed from Dubai. Hey Reddit, to take you back to a day I will never forget. A day where I was humiliated, mocked, and treated like a foolish child, only for the entire room to witness the truth. Hit them like a freight train. The truth that I'm not the loser my family has always thought I was, that the man they believed I made up, the one they referred to as my imaginary fiancé, not only exists, but would turn their smug little world upside down in under a minute. It was my cousin Priya's engagement party, the golden child of the family, the one who could do no wrong. She was marrying into wealth, of course. Her fiancé Arif came from one of those industrialist families with their names slapped across half the buildings in the city. The venue was luxury draped in gold and orchid chandeliers, hanging like stars that had lost their way and landed indoors. Every corner sparkled like it was auditioning for a Bollywood set, and every guest was dressed to be seen and envied. And there was me, the black sheep, the invisible one, the girl who at 31 wasn't married yet, who had apparently conjured up a rich, successful fiancé who never showed up. Because of course in my parents' eyes, I could never actually land someone that impressive. That had to be fiction. That had to be desperation. The entire evening they kept saying things to relatives and hushed but audible voices. "Oh, Ria, she says she's engaged, but he's always busy. Apparently too busy to ever meet anyone." Then a fake laugh. Maybe he's just really shy. Or maybe she's just, imagining things. Can you believe she told us he's a CEO and flies private? I stood there with a flute of champagne and a smile so tight it could have cracked. I wasn't going to stoop to their level. Not yet. They didn't know we had just landed from Dubai that very afternoon. They didn't know he had insisted we fly back in time for this event, even though he had back-to-back meetings. They didn't know, because I never cared to share every detail. Why would I, when all they ever did was doubt, mock, and dismiss? I walked around the venue pretending not to hear them greeting relatives, who offered sympathetic smiles and side eyes, as if I were some tragic tale they were watching unfold. Ria still single. Ria the odd one out. Ria probably gonna end up alone. They didn't see the text. I got just 20 minutes into the event. Parking was hell. Be there in 5. I didn't tell anyone. I just raised my glass for a quiet toast to their ignorance, to my patience, and to the perfect moment that was just around the corner. I kept my position near the entrance, acting casual, but perfectly in view. The DJ was transitioning into soft Bollywood love songs. The bride and groom were posing near the floral arch. And then the doors opened and walked Aryan tall, commanding, wearing a navy blue tailored suit that looked like it was sewn directly onto him. His hair was slicked back, face calm, but eyes scanning the room like he owned it. Because in many ways, he did. Several heads turned before he even said a word. He adjusted the cuffs of his shirt, walked 2 steps in, and said loud enough for the nearest 20 people to hear, "Sorry I'm late. Had a little trouble parking the helicopter." And then he laughed casually, as if that was just another Tuesday. You could hear the collective gasp. I swear someone dropped a glass. My mother's eyes widened in horror. My father stopped mid-sentence, still chewing a canopy. And I just smiled, the first real smile I'd worn all evening. Aryan walked over to me and kissed my cheek gently, taking my hand in his. "Sorry, babe, had to wrap up a last-minute investor call on the flight. Still wanted to be here, wouldn't miss this for the world." By now heads were turning. Conversation stopped. People were murmuring. And my parents, they looked like they had just been slapped in slow motion. Priya was trying to keep her jaw from hanging open, and her fiancé looked like he was mentally calculating Aryan's net worth. Arian politely greeted them, even congratulated them, and then turned back to me. Care to introduce me to the people who think I'm imaginary? I laughed, but it was icy. My parents stammered, "Oh, we didn't mean. We were just joking, we didn't know." "Of course you didn't," I said. "You never ask, you just assume." Arian shook their hands, offered them the kind of smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. He had the kind of presence that made people nervous, not because he was rude, but because he was uncomfortably genuine. He didn't brag. He didn't need to. His presence was the brag. The rest of the evening was a blur of stunned silence and awkward recoveries. My relatives scrambled to shift the narrative. Suddenly, everyone wanted to talk to us. Suddenly, everyone remembered how close we were as kids. Suddenly, people wanted Arian's business card advice, attention. But we didn't stay long. After a brief chat with the bride and groom, Arian leaned in and asked if I was ready to leave. I nodded, and we walked out as quietly as we had entered, hand in hand. Outside, the car was waiting. Not the helicopter, obviously, that was at a nearby helipad, but the sleek black sedan still made a statement. As we sat inside and the driver pulled away, I finally exhaled. That was satisfying. I said, "Not even revenge, just proof." Arian nodded, resting a hand on mine. "They'll believe now, but you never needed their validation in the first place." I looked out the window as the venue faded behind us, and yet even with all of that, the dramatic entrance, the shocked expressions, the stunned silence, I couldn't shake a feeling deep in my gut, a feeling that something wasn't quite right, that something was off. Because just before Arian walked in, I had gotten a second message. A message I never opened until we were in the car. It was from an unknown number, and it simply read, "He's not who you think he is." The message haunted me. He's not who you think he is. 6 simple words that ignited a storm inside me. Right when everything was supposed to be perfect. Arian's grand entrance had shut down every critic in the room, every whispering aunt, every smug family member who once looked at me like I was a delusional nobody. And yet even as I sat in that luxury car, with his hand resting gently on mine, all I could feel was an unsettling throb in my chest. That message lingered like smoke in my lungs. I couldn't ignore it. I didn't mention it to him. Not immediately. Maybe it was a prank, I told myself. Maybe someone in my family, jealous or bitter, decided to stir up drama after realizing I wasn't bluffing. But deep down, I knew better. The timing was too precise, the tone too personal. Whoever sent it wasn't trying to start trouble. They were trying to warn me that night after Arian and I got home. He fell asleep quickly. The man could sleep through an earthquake, but I lay awake beside him, eyes wide open in the dark, staring at the ceiling, thinking of all the little things that hadn't quite added up over the months. The first was how we met a first-class lounge in Singapore. Arian had introduced himself after overhearing me speak on a call with a client. He was charming, intense, and in control of every conversation. He told me he ran a private tech firm based in London, with operations across Dubai, Mumbai, and Singapore. He never boasted, just answered questions in a calm, deliberate way, the way someone would if they had nothing to prove. But now, replaying every moment in my mind, I realized how carefully curated every encounter had been. He always booked the reservations, chose the hotels, flew us in and out of cities, but never let me visit his supposed office. When I asked, he'd smile and say, "It's too boring. Besides, you don't want to be around geeks coding in dark rooms all day." It had felt like romance, whirlwind, exciting, thrilling. But now, with that single text carved into my thoughts, I couldn't help but feel like maybe I had been shown exactly what I was meant to see, and nothing more. The next morning I excused myself from breakfast and drove out to a cafe alone. I opened my laptop and started digging. His company website was slick but vague, a lot of buzzwords, no names of clients, no staff directory. I ran a reverse image search on the CEO photo. It didn't show up anywhere else, which could either mean it was authentic or extremely controlled. Then I searched for Aryan's full name, the one he had written on our travel documents, Aryan Motra. The results were scattered. No LinkedIn, no press coverage, nothing about a tech firm CEO who flew private and had offshore investments that felt impossible in 2025. I tried public business records in London, Dubai, even Mumbai. Nothing conclusive. Either he was extraordinarily private or something wasn't right. I reached out to a friend of mine who worked in cybersecurity. I gave him Aryan's name and the number from the mystery message. I asked him to be discreet. He agreed. Hours passed, and then around 6 p.m., he called me back, voice low, hesitant, like he wasn't sure how much I wanted to know. He told me the number that messaged me was linked to a burner account on an encrypted app. But the real twist, he found Aryan. His real name wasn't Aryan Malhotra. His actual name was Arjun Mehta, a former hedge fund manager who had vanished from London 2 years ago after being accused of massive financial fraud. The news had been buried likely with hush money. No formal charges were filed because most victims were wealthy and embarrassed. But Aryan had disappeared with millions, allegedly rebranded, vanished from social circles, and popped up under a different name in Dubai's underground investment circuit. I remember gripping the phone so tightly, my knuckles turned white. I couldn't speak. I just sat there, every muscle in my body frozen, as the world around me tilted sideways. I returned home late that night, pretending everything was fine. Aryan greeted me with a kiss, asked if I wanted to watch something, maybe open a bottle of wine. I smiled. I said I was tired. I just wanted to sleep, but I couldn't, because I now knew that the man lying beside me, the man who made every critic in my life shrink in shame, was living a lie himself. And here's where the ray, all pains, sink in. I had fallen for him deeply, irrevocably, and even if everything was a lie, my feelings were not. For the next few days, I played along, observed, watched his patterns, memorized every word he said, until one evening, I decided to confront him. We were at the rooftop of a high-rise hotel in the city. He had planned a romantic dinner, roses, candles, string lights flickering against the night sky. He was telling me about a potential trip to Tokyo when I cut him off. "Tell me your real name," I said quietly. He blinked, confused. I repeated slower this time. "Your real name, Arjun." The air changed instantly. He didn't deny it. He leaned back in his chair, exhaled, and looked at me with something that wasn't quite regret, but something close. "I didn't scam anyone," he said. "I exposed corruption, but I had to disappear. They wanted me to take the fall." "Do you think I'll believe that I asked after all this?" He didn't answer, and I realized in that moment that even if parts of it were true, even if he hadn't lied about everything, he had still lied about enough. So I got up and I walked away. Not out of anger, but out of self-respect. Because the truth is, I didn't need a man to make my family respect me. I didn't need a flashy entrance, a helicopter, or a billionaire partner to prove my worth. I had spent my entire life chasing validation from parents who never saw me, from a society that only respected women based on their marital status, and finally, from a man who gave me everything except honesty. It took all of this, the humiliation, the triumph, the truth, to realize that I am enough. I moved out of the city 2 weeks later, started a consultancy firm with 2 old college friends. It's doing better than I ever imagined. My parents still call more now than before, though they tread carefully, an Aryan or Arjun. He reached out once, a message. It read, I never lied about loving you, but I didn't reply because I finally understood love without truth is just a beautiful story told by a ghost. And I'm writing a new story now. One where I'm the main character, not the side note to someone else's fantasy.